He's about as prepared as JJ in Michigan was this past weekend.
How many wins does JJ have over Ohio State?
About as many as interceptions that he had this past weekend.
I think he's 2 for 2. For a team that hasn't beat Michigan this decade, we guys sure are arrogant.
Man, you guys had a lot of time to think of those jokes during like the 12 years that we smashed you guys.
Now I get to say the vibes are way off.
It's the arrival. I came in the lead, went straight for the title.
Touchdown! Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvelous. Gets past Ransom. Donovan Edwards. Touchdown. The Don.
There's nothing quite like the game.
Michigan versus Ohio State.
This is The Rivalry, sponsored by Elevated Integrity Construction.
Welcome back to the Rivalry Podcast. I'm Jace. That's JP. That's Mitchell. One of the original members of the Rivalry Podcast.
Let's go.
It's a Michigan man and a Buckeye nut who thought, you know what, we should do a podcast together. And whether that's been successful or not is kind of up to you.
We may never know.
At RivalPod on social media. Subscribe wherever you're getting your episodes right now. Let's break the ice with a little thing we like to call Wheel Route. And Wheel Route is brought to you by the J Company, creating your ideal living space at thejcompany.com. The JAE Company.
All right, are we ready for this?
Spin that wheel. Look at it go. If you're not watching on YouTube at Rival Pod, do that as well. Get the full visual. Biggest fraud in the top 10.
All right.
Mitch, guess first.
Oh, man, that is a fantastic...
In the top 10. Really?
Okay.
USC?
Wow.
Spicy.
I don't have a lot of meat behind this, but growing up in San Diego, they were like what we would term the University of Spoiled Children, and that is always in my head. So whenever I see USC up there, the only positive I have with USC is that John Wayne played football for them, so that's pretty good. I think they should rename their mascot the Waynes or whatever.
The Fighting John Waynes.
Think about the Wayne's World implications, but for none other reason than just personal angst. USC.
So based on vibes, and this is why you're only a once a year guest.
Purely
That's
vibes.
why
Vibes carry a lot of weight.
If the vibes are off, the vibes are off.
See, he knows.
Who's your biggest fraud in the top 10?
All right,
JP?
I was super high on this team all season long, but this past weekend had me questioning it a little bit. Penn State.
Okay, tell me why.
Penn State.
I think I know why, but tell me why.
We were talking about it on the way up to Michigan. We'll talk about that coming up. But I thought going into the season, Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, the running back duo they had was going to be great. I thought the defense was going to be amazing. And they've won their games, sure. West Virginia is bad.
Well, sure, yeah.
They beat them. I forget the
Delaware,
whatever the Blue Hens or whatever their name is. Beat them horribly.
Yeah.
But they did not look good against Illinois whatsoever.
They had like 5 turnovers or 5 takeaways.
And they were in Illinois' side of the field for a majority of the game and just couldn't capitalize on it. And I thought that was a game that I expected to turn on and be like, they're in complete control. And I just never got that vibe.
Yeah.
The vibes were off.
The vibes in Happy Valley, the vibes are normally good. The vibes were off.
Well,
the vibes in USC, the vibes in the Coliseum are always bad.
They were playing in Champaign, so that's
they're playing at Illinois.
But the vibes, they're always good.
But Illinois is not a tough place to play.
No, it's not. It's not.
So them struggling against that, I think the West Virginia game was like 35-17, which isn't crazy impressive to me.
I agree with you, at least as far like Penn State still scares me a lot, but I agree with you that the number of times that Illinois turned the ball over versus the way Penn State played and what they did with those points was not with those turnovers was not terribly impressive.
And Drew Aller, I thought coming into the season was going to be better than Sean Clifford. He was going to be the next like best Penn State quarterback.
Sure.
And that's what really scared me is that they've always had serviceable guys behind center. This was a guy that I thought like he's got the potential to be dangerous.
It wasn't his best game.
And he didn't play that great. So now I'm looking at him and I'm going, okay, I'm not as scared. In the top, I mean, it's the top 10. He's going to carve
talented. Both of our teams up, isn't he?
I hate
he's standing right behind me, isn't he? I'll let Eric crop Drew Aller standing over my shoulder for a TikTok later. I'm going to go with Florida State.
Okay.
Because I said before they played LSU that I didn't think that Florida State was the real deal. They proved it against LSU, but the way you can't beat Boston College by 2 points and get any sort of respect from me.
No, it's really bad.
It was what, like 14-10 at the half, something like that.
Well, they got lucky even beating Boston College.
They were up 31. They were up 31-10 in the third quarter.
It's
31-10.
ideal.
And you didn't score. It was like 11 minutes to go in the third quarter. You had 31 points. You didn't score again. And Boston College basically shot themselves in the foot and prevented them from pulling off a big upset.
Did they have a weird penalty at the very, very end? We were listening to it, but it was
something very Boston College-like that prevents you from pulling an upset.
That's all you needed to say.
It's a great T-shirt. Something very Boston College.
So Florida State may prove themselves. They've got to go to Clemson this week. That's going to be, I don't care what kind of season Clemson's having. That's going to be a tough place to get a win. But until they do that, I'm going to call Florida State a fraud in the top 10. Let's talk about a non-fraud in the top 10. It's
okay.
No, would you quit?
Okay.
Also, are you wearing Blockos on your Hawaiian shirt?
Yes.
This is why
absolutely.
you
Do you
should
expect anything different?
I didn't, and that's why if you're not watching this on YouTube, you should at Rival Pod.
I need one of those.
It's good. It's not expensive. I wouldn't have it if it was expensive.
Heavily discounted. Michigan played
Sure.
their worst game of the year.
Isn't that music to your ears? Gosh, I missed this stuff.
still-
I was there in person.
I missed this stuff.
On the sideline, trying my hardest to not smile ear to ear.
The SpongeBob high mouth smile.
With every single interception, and all the people around me are just throwing a fit, and deep inside, I'm just
Here's the thing. Michigan turned the ball over 4 times, 3 interceptions from J.J. McCarthy.
I thought it was 5. It was 4.
They recovered they recovered. I don't know if you consider the fumbled kickoff thing a turnover.
It should be.
It could have been. It could have been a
Honorary
fifth.
turnover.
It could have been a fifth one. Here's the thing: a wake up call that you still win by 4 scores. Fine.
Permissible
Can we
early in
have
the
that
season,
same-
I will say it's permissible. However, the thing that looms in my head is it's a 1-point game with 4:15 to go in the half.
Can we get the same energy for Ohio State? Because I don't know if you've listened this season, but every time Ohio State has this score, it's red alert. Red alert over on this side. So I just want to know, you're up 14-6 against Bowling Green at home at a night game at the Big House.
I'm not concerned.
Because all of a sudden it's fine.
Because here's the thing: I've seen J.J. McCarthy's body of work. Kid is a 2-time defending Big Ten champion, been to the playoffs both years. I've seen his body of work. Kyle McCord, I have not seen him do much of anything that's impressive until this weekend.
Well, that's fair. We didn't watch this game because we were driving to Michigan.
So and we'll get to the Western Kentucky game, but if you're going to look at it and go, well, why is it, all systems, red alert, whatever for Ohio State when this happens, but not for Michigan? Because I've seen what Michigan does with JJ at the helm. I have no idea what to make of Kyle McCord yet. That's why.
He looks good. We don't have to get into it yet, but 3 interceptions against Bowling Green versus 1. Wow, and there it goes.
There it is.
He's getting lower.
I just lowered my seat.
Blake Corum.
Suddenly it's Blake. I don't know if you can tell, but I also, like Blake, have been working out lately. I have not been.
Don't skip leg day.
Here's the interesting thing, though. Like, for teams in the top 10, and I would say that USC and Ohio State were the exceptions here, not a fantastic outing.
There's
by
no
at least top
dominant
5.
team.
I'll say top 5 teams.
I would say in college football in general, there's no top team.
It's wide open.
Yeah.
Georgia won it, and I will say, I will give Georgia credit. South Carolina was a tough draw, but you're still
Georgia.
4 touchdown favorites against them.
Yeah.
So did not look ideal. Texas messed around with Wyoming for 2.5 quarters. We already talked about Florida State and Alabama. I don't know what's going on down there, but I love every moment of it.
Can we take a brief
3-3 with South Florida in the third quarter.
Did you guys see the clip of the USF running back absolutely hitting the truck stick on the secondary?
It was fantastic.
Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Throw that in because it was the most beautiful.
We'll put it on our Twitter account.
Yeah, the most beautiful thing I've seen.
I just don't know what's going on with some of these top 5 teams.
Talking about Alabama, Western Kentucky put up 41 points against South Florida. Okay. Western Kentucky, who we just played, beat pretty sizably.
Yeah.
Okay. They put up 41 points against South Florida. Alabama also played South Florida. Do you know how many points they put up?
I mean, 17.
17.
So what's the point?
OSU better than Alabama confirmed.
Yes, we know this.
Yeah.
We know this.
I just love to hear you say it.
Admitted it?
Just keep going.
There's a lot of teams better than Alabama. There are 12 teams ranked ahead of Alabama right now.
Can I test my luck? Rutgers?
No.
Okay, well, there it is.
I don't think
you know what, though? I don't. At this point, I don't know. Michigan looked like they, you always talk about how you don't overlook any opponents. Michigan looked like they didn't prepare well. They looked like they overlooked an opponent. You still won by 4 scores. Here's where I'll be concerned. Like joking aside, here's where I'll be concerned. If you come out and you play the same type of way against Rutgers, you play mistake-filled football against Rutgers, you're turning the ball over left and right, that's when I'll start to be concerned about it. Until then, this is not, again, I'm looking at body of work from both this season, the last season as well. This did not look like the Michigan team that we've seen. Unless it repeats itself, I'll call it an anomaly. If we start to see the same stuff crop up on Saturday, I'm going to be heavily panicked.
I am so excited because there's a chance that can happen.
There's not a chance.
There's a chance when it
Please,
happens.
Lord.
Not a chance.
Please, Lord. All I'm asking is one.
Rutgers to the Rose Bowl.
He gets it.
MGO Blog likes to do this thing called Opponent Watch, where they will rate opponents and they will give their fear level and then describe them with household or well-known objects. So this is how they described their fear of Rutgers on a scale of 1 to 10 as a 2, and they compared them to leftover chicken salad, likely met or fine, outside chance of violent bowel movement.
Well, let me tell you something my dad used to say. You don't got to be scared to get your butt whipped.
That's true.
You don't have to be afraid to still lose.
There's always a chance.
Okay. We're talking about Rutgers here, right?
Hey, put some respect on their name. 3-0 Rutgers.
Okay.
Rutgers.
Undefeated Rutgers.
Talk to your kids about undefeated Rutgers.
If I had some, I would.
For one more week at least. So Rutgers to the Rose Bowl is still in play here, right?
Clean 5 out of 5 Schianos right now, baby. Looking good.
It's a good feeling.
3-0. Virginia Tech was the game that I had circled, which sounds weird, but I thought this would be the game for them to really show me who they are. And hey, I'll take 35 points up against them.
Would you say they are who we thought they were?
They were. I'm going to leave out the detail that maybe it was Virginia Tech's second string quarterback playing, but
yikes.
Whatever.
How is Gavin Wimsatt?
He didn't look great. He was like 7 of 16 for like 46 yards, but he had a passing touch. You don't need
better before.
You don't need to when Kyle Mononga running the ball as well as he is.
Sure.
So
is now a good time to mention Michigan's like the number 1 total defense in the country?
Well, I couldn't really tell with the level of competition they've played. So
the starters have given up.
When you hear Mark Price for 3, it probably takes you back to Old Richfield Coliseum, Gund Arena, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Hey, this is Aaron from the Mark Price for 3 podcast, and each week Mark and I discuss 3 topics: basketball, coaching, and of course, his faith. Subscribe to the Mark Price for 3 podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
0 touchdowns so far.
you're right. Bowling Green's rushing attack was something to be feared. You're right.
I am not concerned about Rutgers. Give me, like, joking aside, give me what has to happen for Rutgers to win this football game.
What's the weather like? Because sometimes Sometimes rainy days cause crazy things.
When it snows a little bit on the ground.
What if they play?
Or you've got the flu.
What if they play this
when
game
the whole team has the flu
at
for multiple
Michigan
weeks?
State and it's snowing? What if that happens? That could be fun.
What are you talking about?
Sometimes when there's crazy weather at Michigan State, Michigan doesn't do so hot.
Okay, we're playing Rutgers. What are you talking
I'm saying
about?
if that was
this
to
is
happen.
why you're not welcome back. Once a year is
making
enough.
that
What would have to happen for Rutgers to pull off a massive upset?
We have to see the similar thing we saw this past weekend. You've got to force turnovers. I think Rutgers' offense is a little bit better than Bowling Green, and by that I mean a lot. I think they have better weapons than what Bowling Green had to offer. And so I think if you turn the ball over 4 times, Rutgers is going to make you pay at least on 2 of those. And they have a really strong defense this year. So I think the defense obviously will have to play a really tough game, basically perfect. I am a little bit concerned with the longevity of it. I think they'll play hard for a couple quarters, and Michigan, like they normally do, will wear them down.
Yep.
But I think it'll be a closer game at half. It wouldn't surprise me if, similar to last year, Rutgers was maybe even leading at halftime before the candle just goes out and they're just kind of done. They're tired. They put all their energy into it.
Michigan's also got a lot of angst to work out because there's nothing like coming off a game like that than having to wait a week as an athlete to get that taste out of your mouth. And so I feel bad for Rutgers.
Here's the difference for me. This past week against Bowling Green felt very uninspired to me.
Correct.
It felt like what you said. They came out thinking we're going to blow these guys out, which
when they start the first 2 drives, they did whatever they wanted.
And some of the JJ McCarthy, 2 of the 3 interceptions were just bad. We're just bad. bad.
Yeah. The deep shot was just a bad look. The one in the end zone I can forgive because I think Barner's got a post up there. And then the other one, you just throw the ball away.
Yeah, that was
just trying to make a play. He didn't
the thing that I think is going to be the difference this week is it's Harbaugh's first game back. And
I think that's a huge difference.
If there's a game that team is going to be up for, it's going to be this one.
Yeah.
Other than the big ones, obviously, but like the head coach is back.
He's going to be.
The fans are going to be going crazy
fired up.
for
He's fired up to get back.
Yeah,
especially imagine watching that performance from your team and not being able to get in there and rile them up and whatever.
I hate to be a Michigan player at practice this week because yikes.
He may hang 100.
He's not
Rutgers.
gonna, but
what's your prediction for this one?
I've got Michigan 35, Rutgers 17. It breaks my heart.
It's uncomfortably close.
But still, like...
It's far enough out that you like win and you're like, okay, I did that. It's like drinking a Starbucks coffee. It's like, it got the job
Rutgers
done.
defense is better. I still think Michigan's going to put up points in the end. It wouldn't surprise me if at half it was like 21-17 and then Rutgers just loses out on it. The offense still has some weapons, but I just don't think they have enough to really keep up with them points wise.
Well, I think Michigan's defense has just been they've been lights out so far. Obviously, they'll get actual tests as we get into the meat of the Big Ten schedule, but the defense has been very, very good. The offense is explosive. I think Michigan rolls this one. I've got 38-9. I'm going to give you 3 field goals.
I'm going to say the same thing you said last week to me about Western Kentucky. You are underestimating the Rutgers offense.
And how did that work out for me?
It did. How did that work out for you? It'll work out great for me.
Mitchell, what do you have?
If I'm Greg Schiano, I'm going to quote a legendary coach of the past where they say, if we played them 10 times, they might win 9 of them, but not this time. This time we take it to them. Okay. They need a miracle in order for this to happen, but miracles happen, guys.
And so your score prediction is?
My score prediction is because frankly, I have nothing to lose and would just absolutely love Jim Harbaugh's first game back as a loss to Rutgers. I'm going to have 28-24 Rutgers.
Hey, from your lips to God's ears.
Come on.
And once again, we apologize. And this is why you're welcome on like once a year at this point. Oh, my goodness. We did get the chance to be at the game under the lights at the big house.
Man, crazy.
Be sure to check out. We've got stuff on Instagram right now at Rival Pod, Twitter, across social media.
From it too. I mean, we just grabbed so much stuff throughout the night.
Here's, and you can go see some fantastic shots, some great highlights. JP did a phenomenal job down on the field. Again, at Rival Pod across social. I do want to mention that, not all of, being a media member is glamorous. We stopped at a Shell gas station on the way home.
I'm lucky to be alive.
And please describe your experience. Because again, context, we decided, we're not going to stay the night. We'll leave after the game. We'll drive through. I got home at 4 a.m. We drove through the night.
Yep.
So at like 1:30 in the morning, you stop at the Shell gas station in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Describe your experience.
Yeah, it was extremely dark. We're the only people on the road. And I was like, I'm gonna wait until we have an hour left of our drive, and then I'll stop and get gas. I had about 50 miles till E, so I thought I'm good. So we start going, and my gas light comes on. So then I start to get a little panicky.
It was gaslighting you, your car?
It was gaslighting me. So then I'm like, I've got to find a gas station. So I find the next closest one. We pull off. It is in, I couldn't even tell you, I think Cary.
Sure.
So,
sounds like
which I know that they have a really good football team because they're from my area. So I know that much. We go to this gas station. I'm not even confident it was a Shell station, to be honest. I was not looking around. I was get out. I'm gonna.
You left me in the car by myself.
Start pumping gas. So I started pumping gas and I left because I had to use the bathroom. So I go in there. There is one car. It is not well lit. There is some body of water. I couldn't even tell you if it was a sewer thing, a little lake, a pond. Who knows what else?
Great place to hide a body.
Great place. Yeah, ideal murder spot. I go in. It is very dimly lit. There are lights flickering.
Was the S flickering on this show?
Don't even know if they had that, to be honest. I go in and there's one guy just behind the counter, and I walk in, the little bell jingles, and he just goes, "It's pretty late out there." And I'm like, "Yep,
sure."
And
Sling slasher is coming.
And he's like, "Yeah, it's really late out there. Where are you coming from?" And I'm like, Michigan. And I run to the bathroom, latch the door. Jankiest bathroom I've ever been in.
The walls will ooze green slime.
I'm like, I've got to get out of here. I was honestly nervous that he was going to be outside waiting for me. And I walked out. I've never walked out of a gas station faster. I get in the car and we leave. but it was
Wow. Well, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks so much.
10 out of 10 would not
Good to have you.
recommend.
Good to see you.
Just your conversation when you got back in, you just shut the door, locked it immediately, and we just start going. I was like, how was that? And you said, he just said, pretty late out there, isn't it?
It was real
And
weird.
then he said, what are you guys doing out there so late?
And
it's like, what?
I am not a anxious person like that.
Absolutely
that stuff
not.
never really messed with me. So you know it was crazy when I'm walking out we got to get out of here, dude.
Speaking of scary things, let's talk about the 126th ranked Western Kentucky defense. Ohio State put up 66 points. I lost track.
28 points in 9 plays.
Here's what I remember is must have been having issues in the press box because it was 14-10 midway through the second quarter, and then just lost signaled. And I don't know what happened to the rest of that game, but I assume it stayed close probably throughout the rest of it. What are your takeaways from Ohio State's performance against WK?
It was.
What else can you say? I mean,
it was the quarter. If you don't,
you go, please.
If you don't mind, it was the quarter we needed when we needed it most, because things have been good for Ohio State. That's not a crazy thing to say. But we had such a long haul of things going really well. And every now and then just getting a good 50-plus score game in feels great and reassures you that you actually have a chance. Even if it's a nobody, that you actually have a chance. And it had been a while since we'd had one of those. And so to actually have that end of the second quarter and third quarter go the way that they did, when the first quarter and first half of the second quarter were going the way that they were, everybody in Columbus just felt a huge sigh of relief and be like, okay, maybe we do still have this potential. So
you need those those second halves where you can just get up and make yourself some lunch whenever you feel like it.
It's so helpful. And we've had that for so long, and it'd been a little while. So to have that quarter happen, 28 points in 9 plays happen going into this very challenging game, was what it looks like going in this Saturday against Notre Dame. I think it was the perfect timing for it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we talked about it driving back from Michigan. Every single week, Ohio State has looked better overall.
Correct.
The offense has looked better. The defense has looked better. I remember last week, Jace was giving me a bunch of garbage because I said that Western Kentucky was only going to score 10 points, and he said I was grossly underestimating their offense.
On a garbage-free sports show?
I was really hoping we'd forget about that.
And I have not forgotten. I have been anxiously awaiting this moment to say, Jace, how many points did Western Kentucky score against? I need it said out loud for the audience to hear.
It was one less than 11.
What is that number?
It's hard to tell.
Would it be 10? Is it this many?
I'll say this. I was very impressed by Ohio State's defense because I did.
Just play that.
I thought
I had music in my ears.
It won't happen again, so you want that on repeat. I hope you save that for a while. No, I told you that I would not be surprised if Ohio State scored a bunch of points, but I was really curious to see if they could stop Austin Reed in Western Kentucky, and they did a great job of that. I think the offensive performance it's going to be inflated. That defense is very bad.
Yeah, they give up 400 something on the ground.
But by that same token, I'll be fair to Kyle McCord and say exactly what you said. They have looked better every single game. I'm not going to go all the way to the extreme of he looks so good, man. He looks so. He did what he did what you needed him to do.
See, I just think that's just the hater Jace in full effect.
Of course,
based on the full body of work that you've seen in 3 games,
yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm not saying he played bad. I'm saying if you're going to extrapolate that out and go, guys, Kyle McCord is great now.
But what would he have had to have done? What would he have had to do more in this game for you to feel better about him? Because to me,
it's not about that game. It's not about playing. I played one perfect game. It's about, does that have any bearing on what happens in South Bend this weekend?
I think having a game like that is a huge confidence booster as a starter.
It's a confidence booster, but I'm saying, does it change your opinion of him in the long term having one good game game like that?
Absolutely, because it's not just been one game.
It's so irrational.
That's so irrational. But even more than that, more than that, it's not even about next week in South Bend. It's not about what happened at the shoe. It's about how did he look in comparison to the Michigan quarterback. And when I look at these 2 games that are against relatively nobodies, somebody played a little bit better.
All I'm saying is,
hold on.
Who has a higher QBR right now, McCord or JJ?
Sounds like McCord does.
I think McCord does.
You're telling me that if you could choose right now your quarterback for the rest of the year, you would take McCord over McCarthy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, without a doubt.
That is absolutely
Based
insane.
on what
Brown,
we've seen
honestly.
so
That is
far.
absolutely
Based on
insane.
what we've seen so far, absolutely.
Holy cow, guys.
Absolutely.
We've alluded to it. Let's talk about it. South Bend is coming this weekend. Again, shameless plug. JP, we're going to be there, part of Rival Pod. Make sure you follow at Rival Pod across social media.
Yeah, and we've got a crazy cool thing happening. If you follow us on Instagram, it is Instagram specific. You got to follow us at Rival Pod. We're giving away an Amazon gift card and a Rivalry t-shirt. We don't have any on today,
Just gonna go
but
ahead
we'll
and do
post
that
that.
right
We'll
now.
post that. You don't.
You are not.
I'm working on it. So is
Wow.
everybody
I have
else.
never been.
You don't follow
He's
your
about as
own-
prepared as JJ in Michigan was this past weekend. So
Hey, how many?
I like this guy.
like that.
How many wins does JJ have over Ohio State? I think
About
he's
as
two- I
many
think
as
he's two- I think he's
interceptions that
two
he
for
had
two.
this past weekend.
I think he's 2 for 2.
Man is on.
For a team that hasn't beat Michigan this decade, we guys sure are arrogant.
Man, you
still.
guys had a lot of time to think of those jokes during like the 12 years that we smashed you guys. So
Notre Dame is going to
The
be
vibes over here.
Probably
The vibes are good on this side of the table.
Now I get to say the vibes are way off. Notre Dame obviously going to be one of the toughest games on Ohio State's schedule. They come in with the 4th ranked total defense, the 3rd ranked passing defense, and on the offensive side of the ball, Sam Hartman has thrown for over 1,000 yards already, 13 touchdowns, no picks. Now, I am not going to be a Notre Dame apologist as a Michigan man. Like, I think that's one of the things that kind of like Alabama, both you and I and all three of us can agree. We would love to see Notre Dame just suffer in perpetuity.
Absolutely.
Okay? Except for this week.
Okay.
well,
So
There's always
I will
exceptions
say that Notre Dame has not played the best of competition thus far. However, there's an exception to that, and them going on the road and beating NC State by 3 scores is pretty impressive to me.
NC State's bad.
They're not good, but I
That's
wouldn't
what
say
you call bad.
But I wouldn't say that they're bad.
They gave up 24 points to NC State.
Notre Dame is going to be a problem, I think. What are you looking for? Let me put it this way. Ohio State is favored right now. The line is 3. That surprises me because it feels like an underdog mentality. Am I off on that?
I feel like, I'm surprised. I don't think Ohio State should be the underdog, but it doesn't surprise me, or it surprises me that the nation doesn't consider that. I will say, this Notre Dame team feels a lot different than Notre Dame in the past. I feel like even when
Absolutely.
they're highly ranked, I always kind of feel like they're a joke team. I know that sounds weird to say, but I don't look at them as a serious threat. This year changes things because I feel like their quarterback, the last time I remember Notre Dame having a solid, this is the guy, was maybe Deshaun Kaiser, and even before that, I would say Brady Quinn, maybe.
You're telling me last year's Tyler Buckner experiment didn't go
I
well?
watched him get pulled from the Alabama game against USF, so no.
If
he
Notre
would not
Dame
be.
had even and I've said this before, if Notre Dame had even a remotely competent offense last year in Columbus, they win that game.
They
they didn't.
Yeah,
But now they have Sam Hartman.
They pulled it together. Sam Hartman definitely changes things. This is a tough one. This is, to me, I think the stuff that has to go right for Ohio State, and I'm feeling a little bit more confident because McCord has shown progress through each week. He's been able to find our receivers that are.
It's always good for the quarterback.
How hard is it for you to go out and find Marvin Harrison Jr.? It can't be that hard.
It's not.
So he's going to feast.
Yeah.
Ibuka's going to feast. I'm calling it now live on this podcast. It's a Kate Stover game this upcoming Saturday
Like
in
to
South
see
Bend.
that.
Farmer Gronk's going to make quite an appearance. I'm going to call the stats too. 7 receptions, 96 yards,
Oh my gosh.
2 scores. Mark it.
Maybe
That's
so.
my Cade Stover prediction.
Maybe so.
OSU is going to get the run game going. Henderson's getting back to his old ways. The defense is going to be electric. McCord's going to be lights out. Ohio State 38, Notre Dame 31.
That's a wrap. I mean, it's tough to.
Mitchell, go ahead because I gotta gather myself
I'm
after
gonna
that.
go on most of that. I will tailor it with, we're not talking about defense. And defense seems to be the hole that everybody talks about their offense because they're doing great. They're putting up 45 points a game. Okay, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing on offense. But when you're giving up 24 points to NC State and 17 points to Central Michigan, it's just not super confidence instilling when you're going to go up against the Buckeyes. So I do think that this is a team to be reckoned with. We're on their turf. I think it's absolutely going to be one of the pivotal game before the game. I don't think that Notre Dame will be able to stop the long ball and the run game of Ohio State because, man, they're just fast.
Henderson looked great.
If he beats you to
Traynham
the
looked
corner,
great.
just go to the locker because you're not going to catch him.
Collect your
He's
things.
so fast. So you can take his shoes if you want. It doesn't matter. Some teams have tried that, and it doesn't matter.
That was good. I'll give you that shot. That's good.
So anyway, I'm on board. I think it's going to be 42-28 Buckeyes.
You're not scoring 42 points.
I think it's against a team that gave up 24 to NC State. I think it's pretty possible.
Mitchell.
I wouldn't hate that at all.
42 points.
All right. This will shock nobody, but I could not disagree with you more. Benjamin Morrison is a preseason All-American at corner for this defense, and I think that he is going to be a problem. So you are likely to see him locked in on Marvin Harrison Jr., which that battle alone should be just a ton. Like from a objective college football perspective, that's going to be a really fun battle. And so what I think you may have to see is you may have to see McCord, and I hate to give you any credit, JP, but you may have to see McCord find guys like Stover because I think as good as Marv is, Notre Dame's going to be keyed in on him. You're going to have your preseason All-American lock in with him. It's like, that's your guy.
I wonder what it would be like to have another first round NFL talent in your wide receiver room named Emeka Ibuka. I wonder what that would be like.
Really nice.
So that if perchance he would lock up Marvin Harrison, it would be
all I heard
super
was
nice.
I think you're right. That's what he just said. He thinks you're right.
Here's going to be a huge difference, though, is that Ohio State's offensive line, though, is going to have to give McCord time.
That is fair.
And I just,
that is
for
fair.
me, that's a huge question mark that I don't buy yet.
If they win that battle, I'm on Mitch's side.
If Ohio State wins the offensive line, defensive line battle, I would say Ohio State would win that football game. But I don't think that they will. I do not believe in Ohio State's offensive line. I think, honestly,
just gearing up for next week again.
Ohio State's offensive line is a huge question mark. Oh, yeah. You're not welcome back.
You better believe it.
I think Ohio State's defense also has a huge chance to decide who wins this football game. Because if the defense is as elite as they have looked over the first few weeks, and again, competition I think is a huge factor here. But if they are for real, we're going to see it on Saturday in South Bend. And if that's the case, this is a team to be reckoned with. If it's all just posing against weaker opponents, they're going to get eaten alive.
I think Ohio State's weaker opponents are better than Notre Dame's weaker opponents.
I think that's something. I mean,
I don't think that's true at all. You played in FCS school, my brother in Christ.
That's okay.
We've hyped up Sam Hartman a ton, but I also just don't think he's faced a lot of defensive pressure this year either. So I think I'm excited to see.
Well, that'll be a big question too.
Yeah, I think, can we make him uncomfortable? I'm not scared of their running game at all. I think if they're going to beat us, it's going to be on the air. And so...
And in the air also.
Well, in the air, yeah.
On the air.
We're on the air.
We're on the line.
I do not buy Ohio State in this game.
Wow.
34-20.
No chance.
34-20.
I think you've been doing this for so long. I think
McCord's going to have a hard time. I think he's going to have at least 2 picks. I don't buy Ohio State being ready for this game. I'm
going to love that.
If they played them in November, maybe a different story. But this is the first real. Indiana does not count. This is the first real road test for Ohio State.
Indiana doesn't count?
Indiana's barely a state.
Indiana is better than any of the teams that Notre Dame has already played.
That's just not even remotely true.
It is true.
It's not remotely true.
I would normally side with you, but I do think North Carolina State might be a tad bit better.
Better than Indiana?
They at least have a competent quarterback.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, if you want more of this to continue, we also have a Patreon. riverradio.com/rivalry. And because our friend Aaron at Elevated Integrity Construction does want this to continue, we're grateful to EIC for sponsoring this podcast. Your home build, church build, they do the design element as well because your project is too important to just guess. Why not go with the folks with integrity in their name? It's elevatedintegrity.com. Elevatedintegrity.com.
And we do want to give another shout out real quick that we are going to be at the game this weekend.
Yes.
So make sure you follow us on all of our socials at Rival Pod. We've got Patreon that you can find us on. We've got Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. We have an Instagram.
It's still Twitter.
I'm not calling it that.
We're not doing
Twitter.
that, Elon.
It's Twitter. Yeah,
we're not doing it,
man. You can't force me to do
Get in your little spaceship and fly on out of here.
So you can make sure to follow us. Like I said, if you follow us on Instagram, you're going to be eligible to win a Rivalry t-shirt and an Amazon gift card. And we got some cool stuff planned. We're going down Friday, so we're going to explore the campus a little bit.
Beautiful
Saturday's
campus.
Game day.
Going to be a beautiful time.
Incredible time.
Mitchell, as our resident resident Catholic. Do
Yes,
you feel conflicted in this game?
Not at all. Not at all. No. Notre Dame is so polarizing. Like, it is so polarizing. You've got some people that are all about the brand and the history, and it does have a good history, but there's a lot of people that are Catholic that are like, I don't know if Notre Dame is anymore.
I want you to know that's the only reason you were invited on this episode.
I get that. I'm just all in on the Buckeyes. Their campus is beautiful. You guys are going to love it. The church, the main church there, is incredible. It's gorgeous. The intricacy of the artwork, the whole place is amazing, and I'm still all for the Buckeyes because they're a little crazy sometimes.
Have you ever worked in sales? Because you balance that just beautifully. That's wonderful.
Cannot confirm or deny.
I'll take that as an endorsement to follow at Rival Pod.
There you go.
All right, before we go around the rest of the college football land, let's do Stupid Genius Upset Picks of the Week. This was again presented by our friends at the J Company. Fall back in love with your home again at thejaecompany.com. Stupid
read.
Genius this year. We started keeping tabs on this. You get 5 points for getting your upset pick correct, plus whatever the spread was. Okay. And you do have to have at least a 4.5 point underdog to qualify. Last week, you picked South Carolina at Georgia.
Yep, I was wrong.
But not that wrong.
That's true. You weren't that wrong.
They were 20-something point favorites.
You were still wrong. Against my better judgment, I went ahead and took Florida over Tennessee. So that gives me 5 points for the win, 5 points for the spread. I'm up to 22-0 in Stupid Genius this year.
Till this week when I get it right and I'm back in the game.
All right. What is your Stupid Genius upset pick of the week? Again, presented by our friends at the J Company.
You know what I want.
Don't let me down.
What my heart of hearts says, I can't say it out loud.
Come on.
If you pick Rutgers, I will walk off this.
No, because I knew you were going to pick that. Give me my theme music.
I don't know what that means.
Number 19 Colorado Buffaloes over number 10 Oregon. 20.5 point underdogs.
Dion.
Shedeur Sanders. I saw today Travis Hunter's out for 3 weeks, so they're going to be missing him.
But Dion just closed a $1.3 million sunglass deal with Blenders because people want the same glasses.
Blocking out the haters. All I'm saying is,
out the haters.
If there's a team that's motivated and ticked off, it's the Colorado.
So to be clear,
think of the sunglasses.
So to be clear, you're taking a team that are 3 touchdown underdogs without Travis Hunter.
Let me check. Yeah.
That's it.
This is why you have 100%. No points in this category.
No,
Until today when I'm up 25-22 after this game.
Dion, we trust.
I will say that. Okay. I will say this. You know what? Let's talk about Colorado right here. I'll give my Super Genius thing a minute.
Let's go.
Get it off your chest. Come on.
I want it to be said that I made this because I knew this was going to happen. So please.
I'm going to stare into this camera right here. I do not buy Colorado. I do not buy them for a second. And let me tell you why. Thanks for asking. A middling TCU team that they beat. Now, granted, let me set up the context here. This is not about, wow, it's amazing that a 1-11 team from last year now is stringing some wins together. That is impressive. That's real. That is impressive.
It's an objectively good thing.
What I'm talking about is the national love for Colorado. Like this is a national championship contender.
What's wrong with that?
They beat hold on. I'm talking. I'm talking to America right now. If you got that reference, thank you. I'm talking to America right now. They beat a meh TCU team. They struggled with Nebraska, which I don't know how much Nebraska football you've watched lately, but no one should be struggling with Nebraska. And then took 2 overtimes to beat a 21-point underdog in Colorado State and then rushed the field.
But it was fun to watch.
Hey.
It gave us something to listen to driving through the night at that Shell station.
That's all that matters. It's good for the sport,
but I don't buy Colorado, and Oregon is going to beat the snot out of them.
Why would you not want to root for an underdog like that? They won one game last year.
I have no problem rooting for an underdog.
Like you do.
They won one game, They have won 3 to start the year. They have beat both of their rivals. Their quarterback, and Shedeur Sanders, is my Heisman leader right now.
Do you feel like them beating their rivals is something that you're trying to live vicariously?
Well, no, because majority of my life have experienced that, so true. I know it's new to you.
Now we're talking about the past.
I know it's new.
Here we go.
But you just literally brought up the past, so
I have no problem. I have no problem rooting for Colorado. Like I'll root for Colorado to upset Oregon. I will.
No, we don't want you.
But
you're not allowed.
After that,
you're not allowed.
But I don't get the hype. I don't get the buying in as this is a legitimate national title team.
I don't think people think that. I think that they're just excited about
the way
Colorado.
They talk about it. They do.
Yeah, they won one game. You have Coach Prime.
Wouldn't you love to see Dion just actually coming close?
He bothers me. I don't care for him. I do not care for Cody Bryant.
I love every single part of that team. I love the antics. I love the quotes. The second I heard his press conference where he said, "I'm bringing my baggage," and it's Louis.
Because people are watching it.
If I was in Colorado,
about it.
I'm slapping season tickets.
People were watching the Gen Z eat Tide Pods on Instagram not that long ago too, man. Doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Probably it's good for American businesses. Yeah,
I just watched 109,000 people watch that Michigan game this past weekend, so people will watch dumb stuff.
Man, he's on today.
Stop high-fiving.
One last time. Let's go.
I will say this. There's not, for Stupid Genius upset picks, there were not a lot that I looked through that I went, yeah, that's bound to happen. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go with the best one I could find. I am going to take Iowa at Penn State.
Okay.
Iowa, the line right now is 14.5. It's not even that because I believe in Iowa. I mean, I've seen Cade McNamara this year. He's fine. He's always just been fine. He wouldn't give JJ the time of day, and so I don't really care for him.
He's
that
never
much
had
anymore.
a defense be able to score like Iowa.
Right? Yeah. Sorry, he's never had a real serviceable defense like Iowa's before.
Is it at Iowa?
No, it's at Penn State.
Okay, they don't even have the emotional story to go with.
I think Penn State. Some of the vulnerabilities that I saw that Illinois' defense was able to give Penn State trouble for a big chunk of that game. Iowa's defense is far better than Illinois', and Iowa's offense is a little bit better, at least, than Illinois'. Because again, Cade is a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. And that's really all that Iowa needs. Is they need, I'll call it, he's a game manager. I know he doesn't want to be called that. Cade's a game manager, but that's what you need in a game like this, where you're two touchdown underdogs. I will take Iowa's defense giving Drew Aller some fits, and I think Iowa surprises a lot of people and gets a big win on the road.
I wouldn't hate that.
I actually don't disagree with you.
Am I hearing
No,
some
I don't
agreement?
disagree with you.
Oh my
I think he's
God.
more of an assistant to the game manager than the game manager, but I get where you're coming from.
The last thing we'll mention here is we'd be remiss not to mention Michigan State on this podcast. Mark D'Antonio coming back to get absolutely obliterated at home in his re-debut.
Yeah.
Keeps me warm at night.
I was disappointed at the Michigan game that they didn't display that largely.
Proudly.
And get a loud cheer, because you needed a little bit of uplifting and encouraging.
Would you say uplifting? Riverradio.com/the rivalry. One thing I've noticed after that 41-7 drubbing, and really over the last couple weeks, is on YouTube, we had that Michigan State fan kind of check in about after Central Michigan. I haven't heard from first name bunch of numbers in a while. And I really hope they're doing well.
It's one of those things you love to see.
I hope things are good in East Lansing. And as a reminder, Michigan State did offer a head coach who's now suspended a 10-year, $95 million contract, and the team that he built just got beat by like 5 touchdowns at home. You really hate to see it.
Times are hard.
Yikes. Closing thoughts. Give me your top 6. Give me your 4 playoff teams right now and your first 2 out.
Oh,
Mitchell?
don't start with me.
Okay.
I'll go.
Go for it. 4 playoff teams, first 2 out in order.
I've got Georgia 1. Even though they struggled, I still think South Carolina was
You have South Carolina at 2?
No.
What? That's what I was hearing as well.
Okay.
Wait.
No.
Even though they struggled and lost.
I have Georgia 1, Michigan 2, OSU 3, USC 4,
Okay.
Washington 5, Florida State 6.
Some of that was really good.
I thought every single one of it was perfect.
I'll give you mine so Mitchell has a little more time to think on this. I agree with you on 1 and 2. I've got Georgia, Michigan. I have Texas still at 3 because I still think even with the struggle with Wyoming.
Ohio State quarterback win yours.
Great.
Ohio State
OSU,
great. Joe Burrow, Ohio State great. I have Texas at 3 because I still believe in that team a lot. I have USC at 4 just because I don't have a reason to keep them out of the top 4 right now. They're 3-0. They haven't played anybody, but they've dealt with their business. Caleb Williams is a good quarterback. I have OSU at 5. I had him ranked, I think, 7th last week. I'll move him up to 5 because I was impressed with the defense. And I put Florida State at 6 because I just don't know how you play like that against Boston College and then still have a top 4 spot. Doesn't make any sense in the AP poll. Florida State is 6, and that's kind of being generous right now.
So why are you leaving Washington out? Washington to me is so similar to USC, where both of those teams, if you're looking at the top 10, those are 2 teams that every opponent they've played, they've dominated.
I agree.
And I think, what are they ranked right now? 9?
I'm trying to remember.
Top 10, but
they're like 8 or 9, somewhere in there. Just because I couldn't jump them. I couldn't jump them right now over Penn State. I couldn't jump him over Notre Dame. So there's a lot of other teams I'd have to drop to move him up. I can't do that quite yet. Just simply based on where they started the season ranked. That's the only reason.
That's fair. I just think Michael Penix in his 19th year of the eligibility, he is my new Stetson Bennett.
We call that the JT Barrett syndrome.
He's my new Stetson Bennett.
Hey, if it works.
Can we just point out that a couple of years ago, that man was playing for the Hoosiers. And can you imagine being a fan of that and then having to watch this Washington team go out and play with him? I mean, dude is just an absolute stud.
Indiana is one Michael Penix Jr. from being a national title contender.
Basically.
Exactly.
Michigan State is one Keon Coleman from that, too.
That's what I was telling you earlier.
It'd be a shame.
Mitchell, finish us out here on the rivalry with your top 4 and first 2 out.
Well, I'll start with saying you're not going to like it.
I figured.
But I know my hometown of Columbus is going to like this because Ohio State won, for sure. 2, Georgia, because, they're still doing pretty well.
I wonder what would happen if those teams played each other.
3, let's go with Texas because of Ohio State, great. And then 4, Washington. Let's just make that happen.
Spicy.
What are we talking about?
Let's just make that happen.
Who are your first 2 out?
Huh?
Who are your first 2 out? 5 and 6.
I mean, Meat Chicken would be a good one to put in at 5.
You think?
And then USC just because I want to see them battle, but then lose it at the very end.
That is a little bit much sweeter.
Yeah. So chew on that. Think about it.
Man.
We'll see in a couple of weeks how that pans out. Because I'm thinking that's what it's going to look like in about 3 weeks.
Mitchell, it's good to have you back.
It's good to be
Thanks
here.
for being part of this. Don't forget, you can win an Amazon gift card and a Rivalry t-shirt just for following on Instagram as we head to Notre Dame this weekend at RivalPod on Instagram. Follow across social media at that same handle and consider becoming a Patreon subscriber at riverradio.com/rivalry.
The Rivalry is a production of River Radio Ministries. Want live updates from the show? Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at RivalPod. Visit our Patreon and consider becoming a patron for exclusive bonus content, merch, and more. And be sure to follow us wherever you're listening now for new episodes every Tuesday. And if you like what you're hearing, tell a friend so they can listen too.